You know, when I look back on my life, I've had a pretty good one. I can't complain. But I haven't had the best life, and neither have you. Because that distinction belongs to Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
Let me break this down for you. Born into a showbiz family.
Yep.
Lloyd Bridges wasn't a superstar, but definitely well-to-do. Mother and father never divorced. Father teaches him acting. He gets to be on a TV show with his family called Sea Hunt. Makes a successful transition into movies, gets big breaks very early, Oscar-nominated at 22. He gets one eventually. His life has been unmarred thus far by tragedy or scandal. Still married to his first wife, kids, grandkids, a legit musical career, and he's created an iconic slacker hero that young people will love forever.
Yes.
Jeff Bridges is the winner.
Probably hasn't had to pay for pot in like 15 years. 20 maybe.
I've got a bunch of movies that I've never seen before. You don't know what they are. Every episode I'm going to spring one on you. It might be good, it might be bad. We'll watch it and talk about it. Welcome to the basement. Happy May to you, Craig. The theme for May is teens. We're going to watch movies that explore what it's like to be a teenager.
I am the rare American teenager who enjoyed being a teenager.
Look back in your memory. You just got your driver's license, you got the family car, you're driving around Janesville, probably going to Shakey's.
You could tell it was a bad night if you ended up at Shakey's.
You turn on the radio and the perfect song comes on and all you want to do is pump up the volume.
Oh, well, speaking of my high school years, I watched this like a dozen times in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But you haven't seen it since then.
Oh, no, not at all. Why would I go back to watch this? There are things better kept in your memory, and that memory is going to be cracked open tonight.
Released in 1990, PUTV stars Christian Slater, Samantha Mathis, and a teenage Seth Green. During production, Mr. Slater's driver's license was suspended for multiple DUIs, forcing script rewrites, making the character not have a driver's license. Apparently this movie was filmed before they invented that truck that pulls cars along during movies.
Maybe you still need to have a driver's license in case the truck loses a bolt and you have to take over.
This movie won the Golden Space Needle Award at the Seattle International Film Festival, beating out the festival favorite, Jesus of Montreal. Reportedly, some audience members booed when the winner was announced.
Probably the Jesus of Montreal team. Pourquoi? Pourquoi?
Slater and Mathis would go on to co-star in 2 more films together, Broken Arrow and Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest. I don't know if this is a good movie, but one thing I do know is that the soundtrack kicks ass.
Oh yeah.
Featuring such artists as Soundgarden, The Pixies, Sonic Youth, and Cowboy Junkies.
Yes! Something I should have had this entire time. It is a soundtrack to pump up the volume.
I have not seen the movie, but I did own the soundtrack back in the day on cassette. Don't touch that dial, dear listeners, because we're about to go over to the old leather couch and watch Pump Up the Volume.
You ever get the feeling that everything in America is completely fucked up?
You ain't seen nothing yet, Christian. Banksy, what are you doing here?
Who is Harry Hardon?
Harry Hardon runs a pirate radio station out of his house.
And he tells you how it is. Turns out he's got quite a bit of a cult following.
You know how much teenagers love Leonard Cohen?
Everybody knows that the dice are loaded.
Everybody doesn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Everybody knows the good guys lie.
I didn't know that either.
Everybody knows.
Maybe you should cover your ears for this song. It's very...
No, I need to know these things. He plays songs and does wacky stunts on his show, like pretending to pleasure himself.
This is his thing. This is his gig.
Oh, God. He sounds like a chronic masturbator.
That man chronically masturbating sounds like a chronic masturbator. Love comes in phony spurts on the radio.
The next morning at school, we meet various people. Paige, and she's kind of this perfect girl, and her dad's like, you're not perfect enough. There's Nora, this gothy librarian girl.
HHH High is run with an iron fist by Principal Crestwood and Vice Principal Murdoch. In real life, he's Mark Hunter.
His name's not actually Harry. Or Hardon.
He barely talks to anybody, and he's shy.
The last person you would suspect of anything. His English teacher loves his work and reads it in class, and he's like, why are you doing that? I got nothing to say about it.
I wondered if you'd tell us what you were thinking about when you wrote this.
I was kind of thinking about... Nerd girl on the quad. Bulky sweater on the quad. Nerd girl on the quad.
If you're a man, you want it. You know that. If you're a woman...
Wait, this Negro music is quite enticing.
Islam takes the pictures. And girl...
Morning, Mr. Murdoch.
More like crap music.
The school is judged on one category only.
Intolerance of urban music.
Miss Crestwood, you want to listen to this?
It's pretty awesome.
It's got some steady beats to it. It does have some steady beats to it. When he shows up at the library, she's all interested in the book that he's reading. Who's this Lenny Bruce fella?
Any good?
I don't know. I couldn't really understand the book. There was a lot of Yiddish in there and jazz slang.
Cute. But no way.
There we go. How do you cinematically show her thoughts and feelings?
Harry also delivers social commentary on his radio show.
Everywhere I look, it seems like someone's getting butt surfed by the system.
You know who gets butt surfed the most? The butthole surfers.
Yeah?
My true, pure, refined hatred is reserved
For guidance counselors.
Hey, my dad was a guidance counselor, Slater. Harry calls the guidance counselor Mr. Deaver.
Oh, he's letting out his inner jerky boy.
David Deaver speaking.
My ass is dying here. What's with you expelling this girl for being pregnant?
Mr. Deaver is shocked.
Harry has all of this information because he gets it from his dad, who's the new school commissioner.
Society is mutating so rapidly that anyone over the age of 20 really has no idea.
I think Harry's on the verge of starting a doomsday cult. I hope that doesn't happen.
Feeling screwed up in a screwed up place in a screwed up time does not mean that you're screwed up.
This is known as the screwed up paradox. Harry's listeners send him letters, and he reads them on the air.
Dear Harry, I think you're boring and obnoxious and have a high opinion of yourself.
That pretty much sums up Christian Slater's career. Someone keeps sending him letters that include erotic poetry.
Every night you enter me like a criminal.
Go on. It's Nora. She wants to play.
Always the same red paper.
Same beautiful black writing.
He needs to take that letter down to the Harry Hart on forensics lab and figure out where it came from.
You listening?
I'm always out here.
I'm in the bedroom next to yours. I'm your sister.
Oh, that would be horrible. That would be the worst twist for this movie.
Someone writes Harry a letter and says,
Do you think I should kill myself?
It's this nerdy kid.
Landline, who dis?
Do you have a gun?
No, I'm gonna use my finger genius.
You have a finger genius? I thought those only showed up in the storybooks.
I didn't talk to one person today. Every day, was in the stairwell eating my lunch, reading a book.
Boring. Malcolm, the boy, kills himself.
Terminal loneliness.
Wow, is this going there that soon? This is really more beginning of third act stuff.
Eats lunch on stairs.
Strings all over. It just makes sense if you look at it. Nora tracks down the person she thinks is Harry. It's that new kid, Mark.
Are you really as horny as a 10-pecker now?
I am now.
Hi, my name's Nora.
Nora the Explorer.
It's announced in English class that Malcolm is dead.
Could he have caused this?
Maybe I can convince everyone to kill themselves.
Looks like someone sent him a record.
T.A. Epley?
Nora is hanging around the post office and she finds out that Mark is Harry. But he's so nervous, he just runs away.
Mark, I gotta ask you something.
Can I be a guest on your show? I hear it through the walls and it sounds really great. Harry's broadcast that night takes on a sad tone as he waxes poetic about the suicide.
I never planned it like this.
I plan to kill him with my bare hands.
I'm done. Stick a fork in me.
This is my last jack-off. You know what? I'm gonna tell you how it is.
I don't mind being dejected and rejected.
And conjected.
This isn't me. I'm using a voice disguiser. I'm a phony fuck just like my dad.
My parents didn't name me Hard-On.
That is merely my nom de radio. He tells people to rise up.
Doesn't this blend of blindness and blandness want to make you do something?
He's getting closer to the death cult.
It goes from this, the Fight Club, to becoming a libertarian, to the death cult.
Including Paige Woodward.
She blows up her kitchen. Yeah, Paige is a rebel now. Put that music back on. It was perfect riot music.
Hi, it's me. You're on the air.
I'm thinking about killing myself. You've convinced me. Bye. Click. A young closeted gay boy tells Harry his story.
He invited me up to the ridge, and I was really happy because he was pretty cool. And then two of his friends showed up, and they were drinking beer and laughing. Sometimes I wonder why one person is born one way, and another person is born another way. I guess nobody knows, huh?
Everybody knows.
You obviously didn't listen to the beginning of the program.
Tramp. Bitch.
Whore. Smack.
You guys listen to the Hard Harry Show.
Oh, we would never ever listen to trash like that.
He did tell a story about us beating up this gay kid last night, so that's kind of an honor.
The heat is closing in on Mark.
Nobody knows who he is.
Everybody knows. Leonard Cohen.
Hey, you Donald?
Yeah.
I'm Joey.
There he is. Seth Green and the Tubby Kid play a disrespectful Mr. Deaver hip-hop jam.
Shut down the whole school.
Kill everyone.
Most unconvincing high five I've ever seen.
But they kicked me out for no reason.
They kicked me out for taking a bogus journey.
The smog's getting worse and worse in this town.
Go down on him.
Go down on him.
Come here, you. Whoa. Fuck. Okay, great.
We got footage of the smog monster. There's a big PTA meeting. Paige shows up. Harry is a hero.
He's trying to tell you that there's something wrong with this school.
It's haunted.
I'm going to start my own pirate radio station, and I'm going to call myself Paige Mons Pubis.
Old fuzzy arms.
Nora finds Harry at his house. He still just can't talk to her. He's too shy.
Say anything.
Stop bringing up that movie. I auditioned for it. They chose Cusack. What are you doing down there? Are you a pirate DJ?
Nora reveals herself. His parents are thrilled. Maybe he'll get a girlfriend now.
They say that I am deluded, demented, deranged.
De-lovely. They've also said I'm swonderful and smarvelous. Mr. Deaver has started a little phone line of his own called Bionic, where troubled kids can call and talk to him, and don't call this Harry fellow. Well, Harry decides to call the thing and give Mr. Deaver what for. But the police are on the other end, and they're tracing the call. Harry tricks the cops.
There's the transmitter, which means the receiver could be in any house within 1,000 yards of here.
Burn them all.
Mark and Nora finally strip to the waist and kiss.
Nudity. I saw this at 16. Next day at school.
I can't decide if that shirt is ugly or if I love it.
No, that's ugly. It doesn't know what shirt it wants to be. He kisses Paige.
He kisses Nora.
Nora, yeah. But he's probably thinking about Paige.
Your message is out there. The truth is a virus.
Something's making me ill.
When I told them to do stuff, I didn't expect them to actually do it. Principal Crestwood and Murdoch start way overstepping their bounds. Nora is expelled. A teacher is fired. Mark's dad finds out from the fired teacher that Principal Crestwood has been doing some shady things.
I have the highest average SAT scores in the state.
I do. Because I have the answer key.
So she's taking all the dumb kids and finding reasons to expel them so they don't bring down the SAT average. It really sucks when your high school is run by a Lord of the Sith.
The Federal Communications Commission. They're gonna bring this guy down.
Harry knows that this is the end of the line, and he's got to do a final broadcast. But all the FCC trucks are there.
They have triangulation devices. They'll be able to do it.
Come on, we're right here waiting for you right now.
We don't know how to rebel without you, Harry.
So he builds a remote radio broadcasting rig.
Hi, Dad. Happy birthday. I'm in jail.
Aaron Yondo really loves that song.
Yeah?
He's always quoting it.
Rebel! Rebel, all you rebels. And they're down at the school and they're like, yeah, rebellion! Nerds and punks and jocks all twisting together and rebelling.
Age 15, legally kicked out on September 26th.
He is just like Lenny Bruce. Now he's just reading documents. And
I'm suspending you.
You can't do that.
Oh, I think I just did.
I think it's time to start the death cult. Give some inspirational speeches to the kids.
The police show up. There's a chase.
They can't stop you.
However, they can stop me because I am committing a crime right now, so I'm going to jail. And on my one phone call, I will call my dad and say, "Hi, Dad, I'm in jail."
Keep the air alive.
Oh, sudden slow motion.
He is captured. It's a good thing Harry wasn't the school's one black kid. We love you, Harry. You've truly given us a reason to pump up the volume. Well, Craig, we just watched Pump Up the Volume.
Matt,
Yes?
Pump it up. Pump up your
Pump
volume.
Up My Volume?
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry. We just watched Pump Up the Volume.
That's a movie I've saw very many times. There's so little of this I remember. I remember Nora taking off her sweater. There's very few scenes that really pop out over the others.
There are some considerable parallels between this and kind of the new media landscape of today. Mm-hmm. There's nothing new about pirate radio stations, but just the idea of someone broadcasting their opinions to anyone who will listen.
From a basement.
Really makes you think of YouTube and, the type of thing we do right here, right now. And there really was rebelliousness happening in general in the early 90s, especially with the rise of what was called in the 80s college rock and then became alternative music in the 90s.
Well, I'm sorry, what do you mean by rebellious?
Moving away from the mainstream.
Yeah. Conformity was something that was talked about. That you weren't supposed to conform. It's better to be Nora than it is to be Paige. And it's good that Paige stopped being Paige. Nowadays, I don't know if kids talk about conformity anymore. I hope they do. And I hope they think that it's not necessarily a good thing. It was a decision that a lot of us made. Are you with them or are you free?
I don't really know what's happening with teens in general. I don't know if cliques are as big a thing now as they were back when we were teenagers. Mm-hmm. I think the slang term hard-on has passed its prime. I think it's a little archaic at this point. And I'm just fine with that because I hate it.
There's terms for that I like less. One rhymes with flubby.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I would have much preferred his radio handle to be Billy Boner. And you know that somewhere in America there is a morning zoo DJ named Billy Boner.
Billy Boner coming at you with the Morning Z Squad.
When I was in college, I went to an open mic poetry reading. And this girl went up. She had her little journal. She didn't really preface it. And she started reading the lyrics to Leonard Cohen's Everybody Knows. Now, I couldn't tell if she was passing them off as her own or just, this is a song that I like.
Maybe it's Monkeys at a Typewriter. Maybe...
No.
You know what? Everybody knows.
This movie is really going after a crossover audience and doing it well. It's kind of a by-the-numbers teenager movie. It's also reaching out to the kids hanging out behind the school smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
It flings a wide net.
Also was after a decade of Reaganism, a decade of being told that everything's okay, you just have to listen to Grandpa. You know what? Maybe everything isn't okay. Maybe it's all just a veneer that we put on this rotting country.
And this principal...
Man, I'm sounding like Harry.
And this principal and this vice principal who are supposed to be running our school to our benefit are doing shady things under the table.
Murdoch is the Gestapo going around rounding up the worst of the worst, who aren't even that bad. And that's something I like about the movie. The punk keeps coming back to school. He clearly wants to be there. I'm a kid. I have a rebellious streak.
It's 1990. I might have an undiagnosed learning disability.
Exactly. I think the most impressive thing about this movie is the scene where the gay kid calls in.
Yeah.
That's a scene that didn't appear in any of the teen movies that we saw.
Well, the kid's story is practically the plot of Moonlight, and Moonlight came out 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know. The movie is a series of monologues, and none of them are great monologues.
No, they're not.
There's occasionally a good quote, a soundbite, but just kind of the ramblings of a teenage boy.
Well, what's exciting about it is just the idea of Harry's show. That you can get on a microphone and say anything. And I think it's still exciting.
We don't really see a transition from Mark to Harry.
Yes, we do. He takes his glasses off. When he's Harry, no glasses. When he's Mark, glasses.
Yeah, but
that's all we need. Pump up the volume. We've pumped it up. The volume, that is. And we watched it. And if you haven't, maybe you should watch it too.
Let us know if it inspires the rebel in you.
Right about now, we got to pump up some Seen It.
Seen It, man.
Jennifer Madron writes, I finally checked planes, trains, and automobiles off my list. John Candy was amazing in a way that made me truly miss his presence. He was really great at playing a lovable roof. I think she meant to say lovable goof. Seen It.
I had a roommate in college who was a middle-aged gay man. And sometimes we'd be watching a sitcom, and it would be the serious episode of the sitcom.
Right.
And he would just yell at the TV, "Make me laugh!" And that makes me think of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because that movie goes from comedy to drama, and when it gets dramatic in that movie, you don't want to yell, "Make me laugh." The drama in that movie is harrowing, and then right back to being funny.
Every time I see John Candy, I get so sad because he was so funny. And he was funny in a way that I could not appreciate back when I was a kid. He was so subtle and so specific, and it all seemed so effortless.
The woman who plays Steve Martin's wife, Lila Robbins, she is the most famous person who went to my college's theater program. She's made a lot of appearances on Law & Order. Jen writes, have you seen Quills with Jeffrey Rush? P.S. I have a crush on Matt. His charisma slays me every time. If you read this on the show, please do not look at the camera. I'll melt.
Seen it.
Seen it.
I gotta pull out my inner Derek Zoolander more often.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. You're very sweet. I don't like the idea of the Marquis de Sade being portrayed as this kind of hero. I know a lot of people could say, well, he was a satirist, he was a philosopher, but I get the distinct sense that he practiced what he preached, considering that sadism was named after him. So I'm not crazy about that, although it is an entertaining movie.
It's not really historically accurate, particularly with the death of de Sade. That's way off. It is one of the few movies where I've seen someone walk out of it in my life. It gives me such a warm feeling. Someone's so mad at this movie that they're getting up and clearly... I played the Marquis de Sade.
No. You played Marat.
In college, I played Marquis de Sade.
Oh, so you did both roles.
Yeah, I might be the only actor ever to play both Marat and Sade.
Pedro Holanda writes, the Florida Project was probably my favorite of the year. Seen it.
Seen it.
Who really deserved an Oscar nomination is that little girl. Brooklyn Prince.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's even possible for a girl that age to give a performance like that.
There's a lot of controversy about the end of the movie, and everyone who doesn't like it or doesn't get it is wrong. That is maybe my favorite ending since Whiplash.
I like the ending as well, the fact that it kind of breaks with reality. I don't like that before they start running off, the camera does this really dramatic movement. I thought it was a really phony moment in the middle of this very magical...
It's showing that the reality has shifted.
I didn't think that was necessary, though.
The movie is all about exclusion. They're at the back door of a restaurant, the ice cream stand that doesn't have a front door to it. And, of course, they're in the city, Orlando, which has this big walled-up place that every kid wants to go to, and they're never allowed to go there.
Sure.
And do you know what that place was called when Walt Disney was first working on it? The Florida Project.
Okay.
David Saletos writes, Logan Lucky. It was a movie that came out of nowhere with little fanfare, and I had low expectations for it. Seen it.
Seen it.
This is directed by Steven Soderbergh, and he had gone into retirement a few years ago, which we all believed Soderbergh. I kind of wish I lived in a different universe where Steven Soderbergh only made heist movies, because he knows how to set it up. Why are they doing this thing? And then later you're like, oh, that's why they did that thing.
He's able to make movies that are just pure fun, but at the same time are thinkers.
My one problem with this movie is the soundtrack. All of the music in the movie is great, but you're making a movie about West Virginians. I really wish that Soderbergh would have spent his retirement planning this movie and listening to a bit of country, just so that it would be a little bit more authentic. He made a movie about West Virginia for everyone who doesn't live in West Virginia.
I'm not sure I totally agree with that. I mean, you should pick music that matches the mood that you want your movie to have, not necessarily its location.
I don't think this movie would play in its home state.
Tune into our website, welcometothebasementshow.com, where you can see and hear some wonderful things, including all of our episodes that we've ever made, and there are PayPal donation buttons. You can donate a little bit to support this show.
And people have.
Well, there's Frank, who writes, have you ever considered doing a watch-along live stream and have everyone start their own copy of the movie at the same time as you? I think it would be a cool way to see your humor live and see how you take your notes. It's a good idea. It would involve a lot of work on my part and probably an extra crew member. Also, there's some things that I kind of want to keep behind the curtain. And there was also Daniel, who did not leave a comment but gave a very generous donation, so thank you, Daniel. To find out who the rest of our donors are and to see the contents of our mail crate, you can watch Unboxing, which comes out this coming Friday. Thanks for watching the show, man. I'm not going to do that. Thank you for watching Pump Up the Volume, and tune in next time when we continue the theme of teens in May. Now, check this out.
You're completely nuts.
Yeah, well, you make me nuts.
You drive me nuts. Just like that steering wheel on that pirate's lap.
Oh.